The British approach to gangster cinema is about showing the brutal reality of criminal life, with a distinctly British sensibility. Dark humor, working-class authenticity, and a willingness to make protagonists genuinely unlikable. While American audiences worship at the altar of the Godfather and Goodfellas, Britain has been crafting gangster films that are gritty, authentic, and just as innovative as anything coming out of the studio system. Michael Caine plays Jack Carter, a London gangster who returns to his hometown of Newcastle to investigate his brother's death.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job. Now behave yourself.
This masterpiece arrived alongside other groundbreaking British crime films like Performance with Mick Jagger and Villain, starring Richard Burton, marking 1970 to 1971 as the birth of modern British gangster cinema. Director Mike Hodges, who had only made a children's TV show before this and would later direct the casino thriller Croupier, crafted something revolutionary for its time. The film was made in just 10 months from conception to release, yet it became something extraordinary. Michael Caine himself said he wanted to make the film because, in English movies, gangsters were either stupid or funny. He wanted to show that they're neither. Gangsters are not stupid, and they're certainly not very funny. The result was a stone-cold classic that inspired everyone from Stanley Kubrick to Quentin Tarantino. What makes Get Carter special is its unflinching portrayal of violence, yet its refusal to glamorize criminal life. When Carter does get violent, it's not satisfying or heroic. It's ugly and brutal. Roger Ebert praised it as showing Michael Caine as the sure possessor of all his unconscious authority after a series of lesser films. The movie was the 6th most popular film in Britain in 1971, and in 2004, Total Film magazine chose it as the greatest British film of all time. The Long Good Friday from 1980 represents the other side of British gangster cinema, the rise and fall of a criminal empire. Bob Hoskins plays Harold Shand, a London crime boss whose carefully constructed world begins to crumble during one violent Easter weekend. The movie was Hoskins' breakthrough role, and also featured a 25-year-old Pierce Brosnan in his film debut. This era also saw Neil Jordan's Mona Lisa in 1986, which continued exploring the psychological depth that British crime films brought to the gangster genre. What's remarkable about The Long Good Friday is how it captures the end of an era, the old-school London gangsters like the Richardson Gang being pushed out by international terrorism and modern criminal enterprises. The movie has a remarkable 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and was produced for just £930,000. Helen Mirren, who plays Hoskins' girlfriend, insisted that her character Victoria be more than just a stereotypical mob moll, creating one of the strongest female characters in gangster cinema. The film's production history is almost as dramatic as its plot. It was completed in 1979, but sat on the shelf until George Harrison's Handmade Films bought it for around £200,000. The delay was partly due to its controversial content. The original TV broadcast was so heavily cut that the producer tried to buy the film back, describing the edited version as literal nonsense. Then came the 1990s revival, spearheaded by a young filmmaker named Guy Ritchie. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels arrived in 1998 and changed British cinema forever. It follows 4 London lads who pool their cash together in order to stake their card-sharp friend in a high-stakes poker game that's run by a local crime boss. When the game goes sideways and they end up owing £500,000, they hatch a scheme to rob their neighbors, who just happen to be planning their own heist. Made for about £1 million, it was a major commercial hit and grossed over $28 million worldwide, while becoming the biggest word-of-mouth British hit since Trainspotting. Ritchie brought a completely new style to gangster films: rapid-fire editing, interconnected storylines, and a cast that mixed professional actors with former criminals. Former footballer Vinnie Jones made his acting debut, while Jason Statham launched a career that would make him one of the world's biggest action stars. The movie won the 1999 BAFTA Audience Award and was called the best British crime film since The Long Good Friday by Radio Times. Guy Ritchie followed it up with 2000's Snatch, which took his formula global. On a budget of about £6 million, it grossed $83 million worldwide and featured Brad Pitt in one of his most memorable roles as Mickey, the bare-knuckle boxing gypsy.
Do you like dags? Dags. What?
Yeah, Dags.
Dags. Do you like dags?
It weaves together a story about a stolen diamond and a rigged boxing match, with a colorful collection of London's finest criminals, including a trio of bumbling pawnbrokers, a ruthless gangster obsessed with getting his stone back, and a pikey camp that keeps throwing wrenches into everyone's plans. It opened at #1 in the UK and set records for an 18 certificate film. This banner year for British gangster cinema also saw Paul McGuigan's Gangster #1, starring Malcolm McDowell and Paul Bettany, proving the creative explosion of the time wasn't limited to Ritchie alone. Critics debated whether it was too similar to Lock, Stock, with Roger Ebert giving it 2 stars and asking if it was just a new arrangement of the same song. But audiences didn't care. It has a 93% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and proved that Guy Ritchie's style resonated with audiences, even if some critics were skeptical.
Oh, dogs. Sure. I like dags.
Sexy Beast took British gangster cinema in yet another direction. This psychological thriller focuses on Gal, a retired gangster living peacefully in Spain, whose life is disrupted when the terrifying Don Logan arrives to recruit him for one last job. Ben Kingsley's performance as Logan earned him an Academy Award nomination and created one of cinema's most frightening villains. What makes Sexy Beast brilliant is its vibe. There are no elaborate heists or shootouts, just pure psychological terror as Logan slowly destroys Gal's peaceful existence. Ray Winstone traveled to Spain 2 weeks early to get deeply tanned and gain weight for his role, calling it the best rehearsal time he'd ever had. Kingsley reportedly based his terrifying performance on his grandmother, creating a character so memorable that he inspired band names and song titles. The film was a relative success at the box office, grossing over $10 million on a $4 million budget, and was named the 15th best British film of all time by Total Film magazine. It proved that British gangster films could be intimate character studies rather than just violent crime capers. Layer Cake served as a bridge between the old and new waves of British crime cinema. Directed by Matthew Vaughn in his directorial debut, it starred a pre-Bond Daniel Craig as an unnamed cocaine dealer trying to retire from the business. The film took the glossy visual style of Ritchie's work, but grounded it in a more realistic portrayal of modern drug dealing. It also includes one of the best needle drop scenes of the decade, with this teapot beatdown set to Duran Duran's Ordinary World.
What's happening? Been away? Yeah! Fucking yeah!
Daniel Craig's performance caught the attention of the Bond producers, directly leading to his casting as 007. Co-starring Sienna Miller, Colm Meaney, and Tom Hardy, to name a few, the movie showed that British gangster cinema could be stylish and sophisticated without losing its edge. Vaughn would go on to direct 2014's Kingsman, proving that his Layer Cake success wasn't a fluke. You can't discuss British gangster films without mentioning 1969's The Italian Job. Michael Caine leads a team planning to steal $4 million in gold from Turin, using 3 Mini Coopers in one of cinema's greatest chase sequences. In 2004, it was named the most famous British movie of all time. Caine plays Charlie Croker, a charming thief fresh out of prison, who inherits the heist plan from a fellow crook killed by the mafia. He assembles a crew of specialists and convinces eccentric crime boss Mr. Bridger, played brilliantly by Noel Coward in his final film role, to bankroll the operation from his prison cell, where he lives like royalty and runs his empire with patriotic fervor. The plan hinges on creating the mother of all traffic jams by hacking Turin's computer-controlled traffic system, giving them a window to grab the gold and escape through the city's sewers and rooftops. The film captures the cheeky optimism of the 1960s while still delivering thrills. Those red, white, and blue minis tearing through arcades, down staircases, and across rooftops became instantly iconic. A sequence that took 6 weeks to film and turned the Cooper into a symbol of British cool. It spawned a 2003 American remake, but the original remains untouchable. 1948's Brighton Rock deserves recognition as the film that established many conventions of British gangster cinema. Based on Graham Greene's novel and starring a young Richard Attenborough as the vicious Pinky Brown, a teenage gang leader in the seaside resort town of Brighton who commits a murder and then ruthlessly covers his tracks, including romancing a naive waitress who might have witnessed too much. The contrast between Brighton's cheerful holiday atmosphere and the dark violence lurking beneath gives the movie a queasy tension that still holds up. In 1999, it was ranked the 15th best British film of all time by the British Film Institute. 2015's Legend brought British gangster cinema full circle, with Tom Hardy's dual performance as the notorious Kray twins. While the film received mixed reviews, Hardy's commitment to playing both Ronnie and Reggie Kray was extraordinary, requiring him to act opposite himself in numerous scenes. In the late 1950s, the Kray twins dominated London's East End alongside their rivals, the Richardson Gang, creating the criminal empire mythology that continues to fascinate filmmakers. The Krays have always been central to British gangster mythology. As Guy Ritchie noted, everything, more or less, of the old-school villainy related back to the Krays at some point. Legend may not be perfect, but it captures the celebrity culture that surrounded the twins and their influence on London's criminal underworld. Ritchie himself returned to this world with Rock and Rolla in 2008 and later The Gentleman in 2019, proving the enduring appeal of British crime cinema.